Welcome to Badger Grain Company, a private family-owned grain elevator in Darien, Wisconsin. The health and safety of all employees and visitors on site is the top priority of Badger Grain Company. This video is intended to familiarize yourself with Badger Grain Company. While the video is brief and general in nature, Badger Grain Company follows a strict safety program administered by our safety officer. This program can be found in its entirety at the main office. At Badger Grain Company, there are two separate elevators, the main elevator and the rail elevator. The main elevator is located by the main office, and the rail elevator is located to the southwest of the main office at the end of Badger Parkway by the railroad spur. All visitors, contractors, and guests are required to sign in at the main office. There you will be shown the emergency evacuation plan and given an explanation on where to go in the event that there is an emergency situation. In the event that there is an emergency and a full evacuation is needed, a continuous blast from our air horn alerts all personnel to stop what they are doing and meet at the rendezvous area for a head count. The rendezvous area is by the dumpster to the west of the main office. The emergency coordinator will inform you of the necessary instructions. All emergencies are reported to the office. Due to the explosive characteristics of grain dust, smoking is only permitted in the designated smoking area in front of the main office by the soda machine. Fire extinguishers can be found hanging underneath red fire extinguisher signs throughout the facility. These fire extinguishers are Class A, B, and C, which can be used to extinguish paper and wood fires, liquid fires, and electrical fires. Class D fire extinguishers, water, can also be found in both the main elevator electrical shed and the rail elevator electrical shed. Class D fire extinguishers are used to cool hot bearings and other metallic fires. If there is a medical emergency with anyone on Badger Grain property, a defibrillator can be found at the main office. All Badger Grain employees have been trained on proper use of the defibrillator. Also at the main office is the first aid station, which includes latex gloves, alcohol swipes, band-aids, and ice packs. If you get material in your eye, a personal eye wash station can be found in the shop next to the office. If you have any hazardous material on your skin or in your eye, you must flush with water for 15 minutes. MSDS sheets for hazardous materials can be found at the main office. Due to the amount of combined human and truck traffic at Badger Grain Company, all trucks must obey a 5-mile-per-hour speed limit. Badger Grain Company enforces a strict personal protective equipment policy. While at the facility, you are required to wear a hard hat and high-visibility reflective vest at all times. You will be provided this equipment when you sign in at the main office. Other personal protective equipment, including eye protection, hearing protection, work gloves, and respirators, may be required for specific jobs. The Job Hazard Analysis Plan will inform you of what personal protective equipment is required for your job. When working in elevated areas without standard railings, you will be required to wear a full body harness and shock-absorbing lanyard. Any personal protective equipment that you choose to wear is available at your request. When delivering grain to the dump or receiving pits, all trucks must have the parking brake applied. Truck drivers are asked to stay in their trucks while unloading. Employees will then grab samples of your grain to ensure its quality meets the standards set by Badger Grain Company. Grain dust is extremely explosive. Areas with the possibility for grain dust to accumulate are labeled with a "Danger, grain dust is like explosive" sign. In areas where grain dust can accumulate, a hot work permit must be followed to perform any welding, cutting, or other hot work. These permits are available at the office. While walking around our facility, you will see signs that read, "Danger, electrical hazard." Only licensed electricians are permitted to open these electrical boxes. Periodically, Badger Grain Company fumigates grain bins to kill bugs. When this is being done, all hatches and doorways to the bin being fumigated will be labeled with a "Danger Phosfume" sign. Phosfume is extremely hazardous. It is very important that you do not touch any hatch or doorway with this sign on it. All areas used to store pesticides will be labeled. Many pesticides can cause immediate and long-term health effects. MSDS sheets are available at the main office if you want to know the specific hazard of any pesticide you may handle. Lockout tagout is an important part of our safety program. Whenever employees or contractors are working on a piece of equipment or near any equipment missing guarding, that equipment must be locked out. Any equipment with a "Keep Hands Out of Machinery" or "Moving Parts" sign must be locked out while performing work on that equipment. There are multiple lockout centers where you will find the locks, tags, and clasps. They are located in the shop, the main elevator electrical room, and the rail elevator electrical room. When performing lockout tagout, each person working on the equipment must apply their own lock to the energy source. It is also required to apply a tag to the equipment energy source. The tag should include the date and name of the person applying the tag. SOPs, or Standard Operating Procedures, for lockout tagout for each piece of equipment can be found at the main office. After equipment is locked out, it is important that you attempt to start that equipment to verify the lockout procedures were done correctly. If equipment, such as ladders, extension cords, or shop equipment is labeled with a "Do Not Use" or "Do Not Operate" tag, it is important that you do not touch that equipment. All ladders on grain bins are locked to prevent unauthorized personnel from accessing bin roofs and catwalks. You must get a key from the main office to access bin roofs and catwalks. Hearing protection is required wherever there is a hearing protection sign hanging. These areas are by the dryers or when using the grain vac. The arc welder is labeled with an identifying sign. Only trained welders can use the arc welder. Hot work permits are required if the arc welder is to be used outside the shop. Certain areas at Badger Grain Company are labeled with a sign that reads "Danger, Confined Space." Examples of these spaces include tunnels, boot pits, dump pits, and the truck and rail scales. If your job requires you to enter such a space, you must review Badger Grain Company's permit required confined space policy with management. A permit for entry must be issued. Periodically, Badger Grain loads rail cars with grain at the rail facility. When this is being done, a sign is posted warning pedestrians and workers that rail cars are being loaded. Always approach rail cars with caution. If your job requires you to access the top of any rail cars, you must tie off to the fall prevention system and use the designated platform to access all rail cars. It is Badger Grain Company policy to try not to enter any rail cars. However, if a rail car must be entered, a required confined space permit must be used. To move rail cars up and down the railroad spur, Badger Grain Company uses a track mobile. Only employees trained in the safe operation of this equipment are permitted to do so. At any time while performing your duties at Badger Grain Company, you have any safety concerns, immediately stop what you are doing and notify management of your concerns. Badger Grain Company greatly appreciates your efforts to help maintain a safe work environment. Please sign out at the office before leaving Badger Grain Company, and thank you for visiting us.